Have you ever finally achieved exactly what you thought you wanted, only to be met with a hollow, echoing silence in your soul? We spend our entire lives running toward a finish line that seems to keep moving. We tell ourselves that once we have the higher salary, the larger house, the perfect reputation, or the latest technology, the restless hunger inside us will finally be satisfied. We accumulate possessions like armor, believing that the more we own, the more protected and significant we become. But for many, the moment of arrival is the most painful moment of all. You look around at the mountains of things you have gathered, the status you have earned, and the comfort you have secured. Yet the pit in your stomach remains. In fact, it often grows larger. This is the paradox of external abundance. The more we fill our outer world without tending to our inner landscape, the more we notice the emptiness within. Psychologically, this is known as the hedonic treadmill. We adapt to our successes so quickly that they become the new baseline, forcing us to chase even bigger thrills just to feel a flicker of joy. We become addicted to the next thing, living our lives in a perpetual state of not yet. We are so busy decorating the outside of our lives that we forget we are the ones who have to live on the inside. This internal poverty is a silent epidemic in an age of material excess. It manifests as a persistent sense of boredom, a lack of purpose, or an underlying anxiety that whispers that none of this actually matters. We are winning the game of accumulation but losing the game of fulfillment. To understand why having everything can leave you with nothing, and how to discover a richness that cannot be bought or lost, we must look at the journey of a man who owned a kingdom but was a beggar in his own heart. Kiran was a man whose life was a testament to the power of ambition. He lived in a sprawling estate made of marble and glass, perched high above a bustling city that he essentially helped build. Every object in his home was a masterpiece: silk tapestries from distant lands, automated systems that anticipated his every physical need, and a collection of rare artifacts that other men spent lifetimes dreaming of. Kiran had mastered the art of the deal, the science of investment, and the mechanics of influence. To the world, he was the pinnacle of success. Yet every evening, and as the sun dipped below the horizon and the automated lights of his mansion hummed to life, Kiran felt a crushing weight in his chest. He would walk through his silent halls, touching the cold surfaces of his expensive furniture, and feel absolutely nothing. His life was a beautiful gilded cage, and he was the only prisoner. He tried to solve this emptiness the only way he knew how: through more. He bought faster cars, commissioned larger portraits of himself, and hosted lavish banquets for people he didn't particularly like. But the more he added to his life, the more crowded and shallow it felt. He was like a man trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The faster he poured, the more exhausted he became. One morning, while staring at his reflection in a mirror framed in gold, he realized he didn't recognize the person looking back. The eyes were dull, the jaw was tight with a resentment he couldn't name, and his spirit felt as thin as parchment. He decided, in a moment of uncharacteristic impulsivity, to leave. He told his staff he was going on a retreat and drove until the city lights were a faint glow in the rearview mirror. He eventually found himself in a remote valley where the air was thin and the silence was absolute. There, he met an old woman named Ilara who lived in a small, circular stone hut. She had no servants, no machines, and very few possessions. Her most prized object seemed to be a simple, hand-carved wooden bowl and a small garden of hearty vegetables. Kiran, still dressed in his tailored suit, looked at her modest surroundings with a mixture of pity and confusion. "And how do you survive here?" he asked, his voice sounding harsh in the quiet valley. "You have nothing. No security, no comfort, no legacy." Ilara looked at him, and for the first time in years, Kiran felt someone truly seeing him. Her eyes didn't look at his clothes or his expensive watch. They looked at the hollow space in his chest. "You have brought a very heavy house with you on your back, traveler," she said softly. "You are tired from carrying all those walls." You think I have nothing because you are looking for things that can be counted. I have everything because I have learned to sit in the center of my own life. Kiran stayed, not because he wanted to, but because his car had broken down and the nearest town was a 2-day walk. And Ilara gave him a simple task. He was to carry water from a nearby spring to a large stone basin in front of her hut using only his hands. My hands, Kiran laughed. That's impossible. Give me a bucket. I have no buckets, she replied. Use what you were born with. The first day was a disaster of frustration. Kiran would cup his hands, fill them at the spring, and run toward the basin. By the time he arrived, only a few drops remained. He grew furious. He cursed the heat, the distance, and the absurdity of the task. He felt like a fool, a powerful man reduced to a child playing in the mud. He thought about his mansion, his wealth, and how he could have hired 100 men to do this. But as he looked at the stone basin, still dry and mocking, he realized that for the first time in decades, his mind wasn't in the future or the past, or he was right here, in the struggle. The second week, Ilara changed the task. She gave him a small clay lamp with a tiny flame and told him to sit in a dark corner of the hut for 4 hours every evening. He was to keep the flame alive, but he was not allowed to move or speak. This is a waste of time, Kiran snapped. I have businesses to run. I have things to achieve. You have achieved everything, and yet you are here, starving for peace, Ilara said calmly. The flame is your attention. If you let it flicker toward your worries, it will go out. If you let it blow toward your desires, it will go out. Keep it steady. The internal struggle was more violent than the physical labor of carrying water. In the silence, Kiran's mind screamed. It replayed his failures, his regrets, and his endless to-do lists. He felt an agonizing itch he couldn't scratch and a restless energy that made his bones ache. He hated the silence. He hated the lamp. He realized he had spent his entire life using noise and possessions to drown out the very person he was now forced to sit with. He saw that his wealth was just a giant distraction from the fact that he didn't know how to be alone with himself. By the third week, something shifted. His hands had become calloused from the water carrying, but they had also become steady. He stopped running. He began to walk slowly from the spring to the basin, focusing entirely on the feeling of the water against his skin. He learned to tilt his palms just right, to move with a fluid grace that minimized the spill. He found that by being fully present with the water, he felt a strange, a quiet joy that a new car had never provided. In the evenings, the lamp no longer felt like a burden. He learned to watch his thoughts without joining them. He saw his ambition as a flickering shadow on the wall, something he owned, but not something he was. He began to notice the subtle sounds of the valley, the way the wind changed at dusk, and the deep, steady rhythm of his own breathing. He wasn't gaining anything new. He was simply stripping away the layers of noise that had buried his soul. He realized that richness wasn't about what you held in your hands, but how much capacity you had in your heart to experience the moment. One morning, he walked to the stone basin and saw it was finally full. The water was clear and reflected the morning sky perfectly. He looked into it and didn't see the tired, resentful man from the gold-framed mirror. He saw a man who was calm, grounded, and clear. He didn't need the marble floors to feel stable. He didn't need the silk tapestries to feel warm. Ilara came out of her hut and stood beside him. The basin is full, she said. I realized something, Kiran said, his voice now a part of the valley's quiet. I thought I was building a life, but I was just building a pile. I had everything, but I wasn't there to enjoy it. I was always at the next mountain. Most men are like that, Ilara nodded. They spend their lives preparing to live, but they never actually start. They think peace is a destination, but it is the way you walk. Now that your basin is full, you can go back, but don't bring the walls with you this time. Kiran didn't rush back. He spent another week helping Alara with her garden, finding more satisfaction in the dirt under his fingernails than he ever had in a boardroom. When he finally fixed his car and drove back toward the city, the skyline didn't look like a kingdom to be conquered anymore. It looked like a place to practice his new stillness. He didn't sell his mansion, but he cleared out the rooms he didn't use. He simplified his businesses, focusing on work that actually added value rather than just profit. He started spending his mornings in silence, keeping his internal flame steady before the world could try to blow it out. He still had the external things, but they no longer owned him. He had discovered that the only true wealth is the ability to be fully present in your own life, and that a single wooden bowl held with a peaceful mind is worth more than 1,000 golden mirrors held by a ghost. And the moral of this story is that external abundance can never compensate for internal poverty. We are conditioned by a society that measures success by accumulation, yet the human psyche does not find lasting fulfillment in more. True inner richness is the byproduct of presence, awareness, and the discipline of attention. When we chase possessions to fill a void, we are treating a spiritual and psychological thirst with salt water. It only makes us thirstier. Winning at life is not about how much you can gather, but about how much you can appreciate. It requires the discipline to stop the constant pursuit and sit with oneself. Consistency in tending to your inner flame, your mindset and your character, is the only way to build a foundation that isn't shaken when material things fluctuate. Discipline your desires, or they will discipline you. Success without the capacity to be present is the ultimate failure. Real wealth is not found in what you have, but in who you are when everything else is stripped away. Choose to be the master of your soul, not the slave of your things.